Welcome to Architects of Opportunities, a series on founders of nonprofit organizations. We will look at how one person or a few people saw a need in your community and found a way to fill it. Who are the people that are inspired to see a need and bring others together to lend a hand, and not for profit? They are the nonprofit founders. Founders are everyday heroes. They envision possibility and persevere to accomplish it. Founders in all sectors and across the country share a common vision. They want to make a difference. Today, we will introduce you to one organization who makes a contribution to your community. Thanks so much for coming.
Yes.
We really love the Downtown Streets team. We know you do great work. So I want to introduce you, Eileen Richardson.
Okay, great.
And Andrew Henning. And so we want to hear about how this all started and what you do. Some of the people who view this won't really know. So just a quick overview of what the Downtown Streets team does.
Okay. Well, I can start with a quick one, and then Andrew can talk about all his work here in Marin. Downtown Streets team started out because there was a survey done to the business owners in Palo Alto, and that survey said that homelessness and cleanliness were the two biggest issues facing business owners. And one of the people that was on the Business Improvement District Board had a restaurant in Venezuela, and there they basically just had people come and clean up around the little cafe and feed them dinner. And so that is the basis for the Streets team.
Oh, and how did you hear about that?
It was starting in Palo Alto at the same time I was on sabbatical from the tech industry, and I was volunteering at the food closet. And so somebody said, we need somebody to run this. Does anybody know anyone that loves homeless people? And at the time, didn't need to really make too much money in, salary or anything. And I heard the idea, and I thought, this is the greatest idea I've ever heard of. Please let me turn it into whatever I will.
That is wonderful. And because you were the CEO of Napster, as I recall.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. So I will say what we do now is much, much more difficult than Napster, even though being the first CEO of Napster was very hard because I didn't know if Howard Stern was going to be on the phone, or the next minute it was a venture capitalist friend who would say, the CIA's coming, they're going to take your laptops. I mean, it was a crazy time. But this is way more rewarding work, but way more difficult because you're working with men and women, and because we're complicated humans, there's lots and lots of things that each person needs before they can sort of stage their comeback from homelessness. Mm-hmm. And then Andrew, thank goodness, was one of the very first staff members.
Yeah, so I joined the Streets team back in 2011, so I've been here almost 4 years. And fast forward from when Eileen started the team back in 2005, 2013, 2012, basically, San Rafael was having a lot of the same problems that Palo Alto had back in 2005 in terms of just the visible effects of homelessness, people on the street, aggressive panhandling, and just sort of this perception of antisocial behavior from the homeless community. And so the city of San Rafael and the county of Marin kind of were looking around for best practices around the entire country, basically, for what to do. And so we were invited up to a meeting and presented about what we'd done. And actually, a lot of the people in San Rafael had already heard about what we were doing. So we came up here in July of 2013, and it was the first community outside of Santa Clara County. So, when Eileen started it back in 2005, it was a brand new thing that she had to go out and sell to people and let them have a really positive experience. And then, in our other communities in Santa Clara County, we were able to borrow some of the folks that had helped start Palo Alto, and then some of the folks that helped start San Jose to go to Sunnyvale. Mm-hmm. So for us, we had the amazing help of one team member in particular, this guy, Michael Davis, who was an absolutely amazing human being. And so he came up here and really helped us get things going. But a lot of people thought originally when we first started there was no way that any homeless person here was going to want to be involved with our program, follow our model, that we could even have close to the same success. And in our first year of operation, we actually had almost 200 people try to join the team. And that's actually about half of the entire homeless population in San Rafael. So pretty emphatic results that people wanted to be involved.
It's fantastic. And because I remember reading about it in the paper, and I didn't say anything or didn't write any letters. I didn't protest, but I thought, well, why are they bringing somebody in from another city? We've got Richardson, we've got places that should know what to do.
Yeah.
And for me, I've turned around so much on this. It's just an example of how any county needs partnership and collaboration with other counties, because I know there are counties ending homelessness, and so how are they doing it? And that's the question. And so, but I know that your work is one of the ways that it will end the way
Absolutely.
you do. Can you talk a little bit about the philosophy behind it and your program, and how what best practices are? I know there's so much about teamwork, so I'd like you to talk a little bit about that too.
Do you want to take that, or you want me to?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to start, I think for me, like how I found the streets team in the first place was when I first came to California, I was working for the city of San Jose, coordinating something called Project Homeless Connect, which is obviously was founded in San Francisco and is now across the entire country. So through that role, I was coordinating PHCs throughout the entire South Bay. And so I had the opportunity to meet probably 50, 60, 70 different organizations doing this kind of work. And from the very first second that I walked into the Palo Alto weekly team meeting, I was like blown away by what I saw. And I think really more than any other organization or program that I've ever encountered, the streets team is really about giving people their dignity back and letting them choose the terms of their own recovery, in a sense. So as Michael used to say himself, I mean, it's not that we're helping people out of recovery from drugs or alcohol or things like that. It's almost like a lifestyle recovery. But the thing is, you have to give people the freedom and the dignity to choose that themselves. And then once they've actually made that choice, they're much more committed to that success and their own well-being. And then you have the fact that there are 30 to 50 to 70 other people in that exact same situation every day, showing up, working hard. It's just an amazing and supportive environment. So I think that's really what makes the difference.
Yeah. Treating folks as adults, not putting a lot of rules in the place, but yet putting a ladder of success that they can climb as fast as they would like, just like the real world. And coming in the beginning, only needing to be 18 years old. That's it. We don't care about anything else. Come into a meeting, sit there, sign up, and then show up the next morning at 8 a.m. and try it again the next day and try it again the next day. Before you know it, they start saying, I can do this. I can work again. And people always say, how do you get them jobs? It's like, we don't have to get them jobs. You just have to just give them an environment without being judged at the front end where they can work hard to change their circumstance. And many other programs don't do that. The first thing you do is you go into an intake, you sit down and fill out paperwork, you sit and wait for a month, and then somebody's forcing down your throat a program. And that's not what we do. We're just a team. We don't even call ourselves a program. We're just a team.
Eileen doesn't allow it.
I don't allow it.
Yeah, you're just a team.
We're just a team, yeah.
And I see how happy they are working with each other. I see them on the street and have been to meetings.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about some of your successes.
Sure. Boy, there's so many.
Well, that's so good.
Yeah, one of my favorite, I think, is probably Connie, who now works for the city of Palo Alto. A full-bred, city guy. He was in the construction industry, and then after the dot-com bubble burst, he found himself living in East Palo Alto, and then on the streets, and then he was working downtown, side by side with the city workers. And before you knew it, how many times did he apply for that job? Do you know?
It was over the course of a couple of years.
Yeah. It was many, many times. But finally they picked him. And that's a model now that we use in the city of San Jose, actually, where our team members work side by side with the Groundworks project down there. And they have hired 6 of our men and women already.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Just over the last couple of months, yeah.
And what do you think gave him the strength to keep applying? Was it, I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I think that when people are given this opportunity, maybe it's their second chance, maybe it's their 7th chance, boy, they're not going to squander it because they've been out there before and they know about all the, let's call it judging, I don't know, but all the hurdles they have to jump to try to get a job through any normal channel. And so they work so hard, it's incredible. We have to stop them sometimes. I think about the jungle, and I'm down there like, stop sweating and working so hard. It's like, and their project manager says, Eileen, go ahead, you can try. But I've been trying for months now, and they just won't, right?
Yeah. No, it's true. And the other thing for Connie specifically, I think, is that even going back to like just our model in general, you know, a lot of, I think, employment programs are like, oh, you need to get a resume done or you need to apply to this job. So here's a handout and the directions and you can go do it yourself and then come back and check in with us. I think for Connie in particular, I mean, the number one thing a lot of people are facing is just a lack of self-esteem. I mean, you've been outside for so long, you've had all these failures and this judgment that people just lose faith in their ability to get ahead. So a lot of the steps for him was really just encouraging him, telling him that we have his back, reminding him that if it didn't work out, he could come back to the team. And so a lot of it for him was really just keeping him inspired and motivated. And I think really the level of not only the teamwork among the team members, but also the teamwork and the love that comes from our staff makes a huge, huge difference.
Yeah, he still to this day volunteers now to do outreach to the other men and women that live on the streets in Palo Alto.
Oh, so that's the other part of it. They find a way to give back and reach out to
They don't
others.
have to for him.
Yeah. Some people don't even want to graduate. I mean, that was kind of part of the problem.
Yeah.
Like, they have such a positive experience that it's like, don't forget, there is a graduation point at some time. So, but yeah, the giving back is huge.
Do you have a team that looks for jobs for these folks, or do they? Yeah, and how does that work?
Each team has a project manager. So usually, and San Jose is big enough, we have 2 project managers. And then we have an employment specialist, at least one, and then a case manager. So each person's almost triple teamed. But we don't give the same effort to every single person because they're all at different stages in their life. And one person we might be working on an eye operation for, let's say, or getting new teeth or whatever that might be. And so, but then with somebody else, we might be doing something as simple as, well, not simple, but finding them a place to live or whatever it might be. But it's very much based on how hard or how much that person wants it.
Oh, okay.
So we don't expend a lot of our energy at all with people trying to force this down their throat. So, for example, we didn't say his name, so that's good. One of the 4 original team members who we just celebrated over a year working now with LinkedIn, but he was one of the 4 first team members. I mean, that gentleman, I took... bought an outfit with my own money, a white shirt, and again, this is early days. I don't do this now. Filled out his application, picked him up, took him to the interview, sat there, working on it right by his side, and I looked over at him and he breathed on me, and I thought that I was actually drunk that moment from how much vodka had just like swooshed over me. And I remember at that moment thinking, you have got to be kidding me. I've worked my tail off, bought you all of this, brought you here. And at that moment I realized he does not want this as much as I want this for him. And I'm really just banging my head against the wall. I'm only going to work with the people when they want to make that change. Because who are we to judge when somebody's ready to make a change? And so sure enough, it was 7 or 8 years later that Barry finally came back and said, I'm ready. I'm really ready this time. And sure enough, now he's soaring off to Scotland to be with his daughter. I met with her. We had dinner with her. She's flown back. They're reconnected for the first time in 20 years.
Fantastic. So he got into some programs to help him with that as well. That's the other thing with us is we don't drug test. We don't do any of that at the front end because you can't expect somebody that's living on the streets to wake up one day and say, I have an idea. I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to find a white shirt. I'm going to get a resume. I'm going to try to get breakfast, maybe find a bus token, and, feel good enough about myself to get a job. What if you even did get a job? How would you save enough money living on the streets to get a shower, to get a car, to get I mean, it's impossible. Yeah. Does one person do it now and again? Yes. That's why the movie The Pursuit of Happiness happened, Yeah. Yes, once in a while, but not normally. And our program now has over 600
150 people that have moved on, either into jobs or have got off the streets into housing.
Wonderful. How about in Marin? Where are you with this process? Are you being accepted by the county? You getting support?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been sort of an uphill struggle at times. I think, again, from day one, I think people really did not expect us to have, the results or the impact that was in the South Bay. Employment alone, for example, I mean, as of the end of year 2, we should have had 23 people graduate onto jobs. And those are jobs, people have to hold them for at least 3 months. And we only have, my role essentially here is the project manager role in a lot of other communities. And then we only have one person who's doing both the job of a case manager and an employment specialist. So it's been extra challenging for us, but I'm happy to say, I mean, we've actually had 40 people now graduate from the team. And we're not even at the end of the year 2 mark. So, and the really amazing thing too is that, and I saw this especially before when I was actually managing our employment services, but of those 40 graduates, I think 2 people have actually gone on to do maintenance or janitorial. So 38 other people graduated into jobs that weren't even related to the streets team at all. And so I think that really speaks to the fact that it isn't just like a basic kind of elementary thing that we're doing. It's really training people on a more internal basis to drive forward and drive ahead. And so we have people who are, chefs. We had a guy who's an accountant. We have someone who's doing, customer service positions, all types of stuff. So
congratulations.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
yeah, it's
wonderful
been really
for
great.
them.
Yeah.
You affect so many people. One person, you affect 10 others.
It's true.
That are part of their families.
It's true.
Do you have other programs? I think I heard something about a garden besides the maintenance and the street cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting social enterprises now. Our first one is going to be a tuk-tuk cart. I don't know if you spent any time in Thailand where they have the electric vehicles. So we're going to have a mobile coffee cart. And it is going through, we just got a permit from Parks and Rec, which is not an easy thing to do in the city of San Jose. And so we'll be in St. James Park this summer, serving coffee and snacks from local providers. And then we have these like crates that are going to open up and we put together so we can have different sort of seating arrangements, and then we can fold them down and put them away at night. So we have the Net Foundation and eBay both backing that pilot, and then one going on in Palo Alto as well. So those kinds of, and we're doing gardening as well. Of all places, behind the public defender's office, because he's the one that wants to do that. He doesn't want to see people going to prison anymore or jail. He wants to see them gardening in his back.
I love that. So he's collaborating with you. What about in Marin? Anything in the works?
Yeah, so in here, we're not quite at the same level in terms of the meaningful daily activity type of exercises, but we are actually starting this Friday working on a mural project in downtown. So that's going to be a cool way to build some awareness and get team members doing something creative that gives back in a cultural sense to the community. Our other challenge has been trying to actually diversify outside of San Rafael. I mean, right now we're in downtown San Rafael, but in a lot of our other communities we're doing a whole variety of projects. So it might be urban beautification, environmental cleanup, all types of stuff. So actually in February we started our first contract outside of San Rafael down in Mill Valley.
What keeps you going? How do you started it, you've got Andrew and some other really great people, you've lost a few people, I think. What keeps you going when it's really, really hard?
We actually haven't lost that many staffers that to anything other than they wanted to go back to school, or one was, she started with us after she took the bar and she didn't know if she passed. We have two lawyers. So one did go back to law and one is staying with us.
Oh, good.
Congratulations. And then we had a venture capitalist leave venture capital and join us. Actually a guy who grew up in San Rafael. But mostly it's a bunch of folks like Andrew that are, we were laughing last week at our annual off-site for staff that we don't have not one master's in social work on our staff. And we have 40 staff members now. We have somebody that's starting in September to go part-time to get her master's in social work. But they're nannies, and somebody dropped out of Columbia for her creative writing master's degree, and somebody. It's just that they all have the passion to end homelessness, and they feel like they're on on the right
Mm-hmm.
path
Mm-hmm.
with us.
So they keep you buoyed. They keep you up and your spirits
Absolutely.
up, and probably the clients too.
They really do. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
story after story after story.
Mm-hmm.
And we all say this, but if you're ever having a down day, just go to one of our meetings. And
Mm-hmm.
there's 4 locally. So except for Fridays, you can go to a meeting anywhere and get your spirits lifted back up.
So where do you see yourself going? What do you need, and how are you going to get there?
Right now, we have our sights set on ending homelessness in the Bay Area. This meeting in San Francisco this morning, they kind of laughed and said, "Boy, you're surrounding us." I thought, "Yep, we sure are." So you can't, noticing what happened in the jungle in San Jose when they closed that down and seeing more people pop up in the streets in Palo Alto, we're never going to solve this issue unless we do it in the 9 Bay Area counties at the same time. So our model is proven. That's a fact. We have a wonderful staff that's all ready for management positions. We have an amazing team. We have 220 people on our team locally right now, many of them poised to go into management. So it's really just more money and more communities, buying in and saying, yeah, we're responsible for part of this too. We need to be part of a massive coalition.
Mm-hmm. And is San Francisco taking you on then? Is that happening now?
We don't have a signed contract, but it's looking better than it ever has.
Great.
That will happen.
Yeah, that's great. And then, so ending homelessness in the Bay Area. Well, we've been doing some studying about it, and so many different kinds of homelessness, so many different kinds of people and their reasons. And how do you address all the varying reasons that people are homeless?
I don't. That's very interesting question, because in the beginning, very early on, I realized, wow, especially being by myself, you could never be all things to all people. And the example I always use is, I can't have a closed closet that has the right pair of brown shoes in size 8 for you the Thursday before you need them for a Friday interview. But what I can do is put you in the car and drive you to Walmart and get a pair of shoes. That'll do just fine for tomorrow. And so that's how we do it. We have the best and the brightest case management staff, employment specialists, and project managers. And together we're just really foxy and creative and resourceful. And so once we build up that partnership with each of the team members, then we just throw them in the car and go.
Because they have their own internal resilience and spark, and everyone wants to succeed.
Exactly, because their dignity's been rebuilt up, if you will, and because there's a trust there, and because you could need, from a therapy appointment to a meal to a bus token to an eye appointment or eye surgery. What we have done, especially in San Jose, is one of our core values is you keep your head down and you do good work with the team members themselves, and the rest all works itself out. And so the people and the city council members that are there are loving it too. And then you have the board of supervisors saying, "Have you heard of the streets team?" It's like this buzz thing where, you're just not cool if you don't have a streets team in your neighborhood. And so it takes a while for that to happen. In San Jose, it's only been 3 years. But once it happens, the phone does not stop ringing. It's crazy.
So in the Ritter Center, I just named that because I do know it, and I put an executive director there years and years ago. But they do have some services that seem like you could tap
Partner
into
with.
those.
Yeah.
I guess your folks probably know about those too. And
yeah, we do. You have to do things. I'm not going to say the DST way, but one of the reasons we don't have a lot of trained social workers is because when you train like that, you very much learn about policies and what is, and we don't really want to even spend any time on that whatsoever. And a lot of trained social workers are very much like, sit down, you have an appointment, here's your intake, let me get your name, let me get your number, social security number. We don't even know your name until you show up to that meeting. And if you sit at the meeting and say, yeah, I want to get on the wait list, that's it. And then you get then you just get a broom, and then we fill out paperwork. After you already said yes, you might have been coming, with us for 3 months already.
Yeah.
So
it's revolutionary.
I hope so.
It is. It's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank
I have
you.
a million more questions.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get to
we
that
will.
later.
We will.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I help nonprofits hire staff and leaders to carry on their founder's vision. And so I've seen hundreds of nonprofits contribute to our community. We created Architects of Opportunities to share that with you. Now, nonprofit founders will tell you they don't do it alone. If you're among the 25% of us who are volunteers or volunteer board members or staff or donors, thank you. And if you're not, please join us in making a difference.